layoffs are coming.
Layoffs are coming for the ones who are not very good.
Yeah, I can do comedy with a serious deadpan face.
I mean, basically, your shirt doesn't have any software in it, and
If you get offended, you know what category you're falling in.
will AI take all our jobs? Are we all going to be unemployed? What do you think, Shrikant? Okay, you are worried. So
Yeah.
let's talk about
Let's just go with
that,
worried.
right? Okay. So I have a graph which looks at typographer and compositor jobs.
Okay.
Typographer, so in the 1970s and 1980s, if you wanted something printed, right, you would just write on a piece of paper or type out material and give it to a typographer, and they would choose the fonts, the layout, and do all of that, and then create a page that gets put in the printing stuff to get printed, right?
I remember there used to be something called a DTP operator who used to.
But even before DTP operator, right? This was not desktop publishing, this was actual publishing in a big publishing house, right?
Okay.
And there were these specialized jobs
Called typographer
typographers
and
compositors, right?
Okay.
And what you will notice,
But this was definitely before computers came in, I'm guessing.
as soon as computers came in, what do you think happened to the typographer and compositor job?
Yeah, as in
Fell.
That's where DTP came in, right?
Right. So, and this is DTP came in, and after that, just word processors came in, and they even wanted publishing, right? They just published on the web. So, and this has been a concern since, say, the Industrial Revolution, right? When a whole bunch of inventors invented these machines which could do the work of 30 men, 50 men for ginning and spinning and harvesting and so on, right? Since then, people have been complaining about and worried about, is the automation taking away my jobs, right? Let's get back to our example of typographers and compositors, right? I have another graph which shows that yes, typographer and compositor jobs went away, but if you look at graphic design jobs, those actually increased way more than the decrease in typographer and compositor jobs, right? So in fact, net, the number of people with jobs in this area increased not just a little bit, but significantly.
Okay.
Another example I have is, say, in 1960, in the US, there were 400,000 accounting clerks, right? These are the people who did your accounting entries and did all the totals and made sure it matches up and so on.
This is back when balance sheets were written by hand.
Correct.
Left may income, right may expense.
Of course, as more and more of this stuff moved to computers, especially when the spreadsheet was invented.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think happened to these jobs?
Now I'm guessing the same thing as what happened to the typographer and the graphic design thing.
Which is what happened? What do you think?
Which is the manual accounting people jobs went down, but the computer accounting jobs went way up.
Correct. So in fact, I would put it slightly differently, right?
Okay.
So accounting clerks reduced, right?
Okay.
But accountants increased, right? And the difference is that the clerk used to spend a lot of time writing things by hand and doing the maths and totaling and all that, which now a computer does for free. So what an accountant does is not the calculations. The accountant does the more strategic thinking about how should your accounts be and what is your cash flow and is your debt too high and are you paying unnecessary taxes and so on, right? Because the accounting clerk didn't have to waste time on calculations, she now has time to give you better advice and study accounting and taxation and all those things more deeply and give you a higher level of service.
So what you're saying is automation took away one kind of job but replaced it with a totally different and more number of different jobs. Is that
sort of automation doesn't take away jobs. It didn't replace it a totally different job, right? It's the same job, just deeper and more strategic, right? More value added. correct? So 400,000 accounting clerks got replaced by 600,000 accountants, right?
Okay.
What AI does, automation in general and AI in particular, is it takes away tasks of a given role. It doesn't take away a job entirely, right? So if you were spending, nobody does just one thing all day, right? If you were spending 3 hours doing X, 2 hours doing Y, and 1 hour doing Z, and automation takes away one of those things, the other two are still there, and whatever got taken away, you replace it with new tasks that you're freed up to do because you're not wasting time on a boring thing, right?
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
So-
because okay, I'll be honest, I'll confess, when I started the episode, I was very much on one side of this entire argument, is that automation is taking away far more jobs. But now that he's explaining it this way, I do realize that there are parts of my tasks every day that can be automated, that are to some extent automated. And yeah, I have replaced the time that is going into automating these tasks with another different tasks that can't be as yet automated.
Yes, exactly. And that will always happen, right? And that has happened since, like I said, the Industrial Revolution, right?
Correct.
So I think it is interesting to think of this at three different levels, right? Personal level, then the level of a company, and level of a country, right?
Okay.
Let's look at a country,
Okay.
right? So in the Industrial Revolution, there were some people who said, oh my God, this automation is going to take away jobs, and then people are going to be unemployed and homeless and starving, and that is going to be horrible. So what we should do is make these machines illegal. Do you know who these people were? Luddites. They were called Luddites.
Acha.
Okay. But think about it. Of course, they didn't succeed.
We'll put a link to the concept of Luddites in the description. Do check it out. It's a very fascinating concept.
Yeah. But so what it says is three things to me, right? One is Luddites didn't succeed, and this can never succeed. Trying to prevent the technology from happening just doesn't work, right? Because if you manage to prevent it in your little area, right?
Whatever,
somebody else somewhere will anyway do it, right?
the juggernaut of technology cannot be stopped.
Exactly. So so that is one thing. Another thing is that if the Luddites in England had succeeded, right, where would England be today compared to what it is? Not today, but say in 1950s.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
compared to that, right? Point
Yeah.
is that in fact, the fact that Luddites didn't succeed allowed England to become the number one country in the world, right? UK.
Yeah.
Whereas the countries where the automation didn't come, they continued in the old way of doing things, and they were economically backward compared to the Western countries, right? So that's the other thing. The way to think about it is that AI plus humans will always beat just humans.
Fair enough.
Right? Because the humans will do things that the AI can't do, right? The AI is there, it is doing a bunch of things, and the humans will work on top of the AI, which is better than just humans or just AI. Right? So the other example I want to give you is, let's look at the company level. Suddenly, let's say you are doing customer service of some sort. And now ChatGPT is there, so AI is able to do customer service. Okay. One company fires all the customer service people and replaces them with AI.
Correct. Okay.
Right? Another company fires 80% of them, replaces them with AI, and uses 2 people plus AI to run the same level of customer service.
Okay.
And a third company keeps all of their staff, adds the AI, and then retrains their staff to
work with
the AI, so that they are now able to provide 10x the customer service. Tell me, which company is going to take over the world?
The third one. Obviously, the third one.
The first one is going to go out of business because that customer service is going to be terrible, because the AI can automate common things, but there will always be common cases it can't handle.
In fact, every customer service call is an edge case that cannot be handled through your regular help section, which is why they approach the customer service in the first place.
The second company will sort of survive little for a while. I mean, it's able to give the same.
Those people are going to quit immediately soon after because they can't handle the load.
No. The whole point of AI is that the AI can help them be far more efficient. So they will be able to handle the load.
I was just kidding. Go on. Yeah, I can do comedy with a serious deadpan face. Go on.
So they will, I mean, instead of thinking of this as a zero-sum game, that, well, I have to do the same thing. Now I can use AI instead of the humans, right? That's not the right way to think about business or to think about human flourishing, right? The right way to think is that now I can do so much more, and you go ahead and do so much more, right? Companies that think like that will grow. Countries that think like that will develop faster, right? Whereas the others will suffer, right?
Correct. It makes sense. It makes sense the way you explain it, but there is always the worry of not being able to reskill in this new role. For example,
yes, so that is a serious problem. Okay, so I have sort of glibly said that AI creates new jobs. In fact, AI creates more jobs than it takes away, and that has been true since the Industrial Revolution, right?
Okay.
But what was hidden in that statement is that the new jobs might not necessarily go to the same people.
Correct.
Because the new jobs require new skills. It's not entirely a new job, but there are skills that are needed. And if the person is not able to pick up the new skills, then that person will get fired and somebody else will get hired, right?
And this was also evident in the examples that you gave. When you were giving the examples, I was thinking about it. For example, the accounting clerks, their skill was to do mental maths very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas with the new jobs that came in with software, they didn't need to do mental maths at all. The software took care of the mental maths. So accounting clerks who relied entirely on their mental math skills had to reskill themselves into strategically thinking from the perspective of the customer into working out their balance sheets to their advantage. So that involved all those tax planning and all of that.
Right. So there are 2-3 categories of people who will run into trouble like this, right?
Okay.
So one category is people whose education has been very limited and who just don't have the basics to be able to pick up the new skills.
Correct.
And that is sad. I mean, this is the reason why basic education is so important, literacy is so important, ability to read and learn new things is important. Second category of people is older people who would like to and who have the right attitude, but who just don't have the energy or the mental flexibility. And that is a serious problem. That is where countries need to worry about having social nets and things like that.
Yeah.
Third and most important category, which affects you and me and people like us, right, is that if you say, oh no, that is not my job is this, why should I do that, right? For every new task or responsibility that is given to you, people like this.
Of course.
Those people will be in trouble because the first thing that happens in any situation like this is that new tasks are dumped on you, and if you say that's not my job, then you are going to be the person who is not going to have a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? This is in fact called a closed mindset. We have another episode on closed mindset versus open mindset, another fascinating concept.
The link will be in the description or show notes. Right? Just look for it.
Right? So, I mean, you need to have an open mindset. Most importantly, what you need to have is the ability to learn on your own. Okay. One place where, say, India's education system falls short is that right now it is too focused on having identified a set of skills and teaching you just that and nothing else, right?
And if you are in denial about this, I think it's a good place to start would be the Stack Overflow yearly review of which languages are popular. Just go through the last 10 years and see how the rankings have changed.
In fact, let's take this concept of computer language, right? Now, this is one of the highest skill jobs in the
available,
country, right? Yeah. Available. And yet, the number of people, if I tell people that you should learn Python, they learn Java in college, right? And I tell them you should learn Python, and they ask me, okay, where is it being taught? Right?
Yeah.
And they just think of the only way to learn something is if you have a teacher who can teach you. And if that is your mindset, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because the new skills needed when the AI start taking over your old tasks, right, are not there in schools, and there aren't teachers for that. You have to learn on your own. So ability to learn on your own, ability to use online resources, ability to, so there are all kinds of online courses, right?
Yeah.
Ability to pick up things quickly is important. In fact, on Coursera, do you know what is the #1 course which is like head and shoulders above any other course in popularity?
I don't actually.
Want to take a guess on what topic it would be about?
On learning?
Yes, learning how to learn. It is not Java, it is not Python, and it is not AI, right? It is learning how to learn.
I have to take that course.
Everybody should take that course.
We'll put a link in the description /show notes. Do check it out.
Right.
But speaking about the second category of people you mentioned a little while ago, people who are slightly older and not in the space to reskill themselves.
Yeah.
My worry is, and this is, I know this is probably not something that everybody shares with me, but my worry is that the gap between new technologies emerging and the amount of time required to reskill ourselves is very disparate. Like, new technologies have now begun emerging every 5 years or so.
Yes.
So in 5 years, whatever I've learned will suddenly become obsolete.
Actually, I mean, part of it is just attitude and mindset.
Okay.
Right? Part of it, I mean, the when there is something new which you need because you want to stay in touch with your friends, you learn it pretty quickly. I mean, you didn't have to. WhatsApp was used by like the oldest and dumbest people without any problems, right? And part of it is
if you get offended, you know what category you're falling in.
Yeah. So part of the reason is because WhatsApp is really easy and simple to use, but part of it is because they really want to use it and they're using it every day, right? The everyday part is important. Being able to revise it continuously, that's important. That is another episode on chunking and memory, which we will do later. But yeah, most things which you say are too difficult to learn really only boil down to I don't want to learn this. Okay?
Well, partially.
Incentives are not right.
Yeah, the incentives are not right, or the incentives don't really. Yeah, fine, I concede the point.
But in general, I think it is true that in a country, in a society, the incentives can be screwed up, right? And it takes a while to fix them. So it is quite possible that as a country, we might hit this problem and very badly unless we start rethinking about learning how to learn, about attitude towards picking up new things, and in general about I mean, also our patience with teaching new things to older people, right? So all of these things are going to need cultural change, and we need to worry about it. It's not going to happen magically. And yes, 10 years from now, AI will have created a whole bunch of very interesting new jobs, but along the way, there will be a lot of heartbreak, lot of upheaval, and we need to prepare for that.
I was specifically wondering about India as a country because a lot of our exports are software developers and software related ITES services, as they call it. Now that AI is being sort of regularly used in programming and development with Copilot and whatnot, I wonder how it will affect software development and ITES related jobs here.
My understanding is that AI these days is good enough that it can actually help you write software. Okay? Right. My understanding is that good software engineers become 2x as productive using AI than without. Okay. Whereas bad software engineers can't even use the AI properly because the AI makes very subtle errors. It puts in bugs that unless you understand the domain properly, you might not even notice that there is a bug, right? So bad software engineers will actually be out of a job, and good software engineers will become even more productive and probably get paid more, right? So the worry as far as India is concerned is that we have services companies which have managed to stuff themselves with too many of the bad category. And a lot of those people will be in trouble because the same service can be provided by much fewer people using AI, right?
Layoffs are coming.
Layoffs are coming for the ones who are not very good, right? If you're a good software engineer, I don't think you have anything to worry about because there is unlimited hunger for software, right? Right now, software is just being used in a very small fraction of our life, right? It can be used in much, much more. And
how much more? Software is literally everywhere.
No, it is not, right? I mean, basically, your shirt doesn't have any software in it, and your hair doesn't have software in it, and that's everywhere it could go. And don't think of it as a bad thing.
I'm not thinking of it as a bad thing. I'm just, these are not things I would think of as software. Well, this is soft and I wear it, but not,
No, but exactly, right? I mean, who would have thought? No science fiction of from 40 years ago predicted social media, right? But and if you use social media right, it is one of the best things that has happened to the world. So
yeah, if you use social media right, right has only one definition there, not the multiple definitions that you encounter on social media. I don't use social media. I hate it. I should use it. Anyway, so what would you say are the skills of the future that will be in demand in the future now that we have sort of agreed upon the fact that AI is inevitable, the juggernaut of technology is?
So I frankly don't know the answer, right? 5 years ago, people were going around saying things like, soft skills and ability to write poems and ability to compose music and all that are the things AI will never be able to do, whereas mechanical and repetitive things AI will do. But the last 2 years have shown us that none of that is true, right? The AI is being able to compose poems, AI is being able to make art. It's not very good, right? So I think it's not easy to come up with a list. I mean, there are lots of people who have come up with such lists, and most of those lists are obsolete. It's not easy to come up with lists. I think the way to think about it is that you need to be agile. You need to be constantly trying new things. You need to be constantly learning new things, as in focus on learning how to learn. Don't focus on a list of things to learn.
Again, that Coursera course is, the link is in the description / show notes.
And one more thing I would say is that you should keep track of what new AI packages and platforms are becoming available. You should spend a little time experimenting with it so you know what are the things AI is capable of doing. So you should know what are the things, new things you need to learn.
Yeah, for the longest time, I thought the area that I come from, which is radio, audio, and podcasting, would never get covered or would never get replaced by AI, and that my job, so to speak, was sort of not in trouble. But the recent development of ChatGPT, of something called Descript, of something called Sonantic, has led me to question that. So I also am trying to think of where I can add AI into my life, my work process, my workflow, and enhance the things that I can create. Because, like Naveen, I'm also in agreement about one thing. I need to use AI to better myself, and I need to replace some tasks in my workflow with AI. So,
one thing I want to point out here is that our instinct is to like do a big fat analysis and then come up with a plan for the next 5 years and say, okay, this is what I will learn to figure out how to deal with AI, right? And that doesn't work. That works for simple things, doesn't work for complex stuff and changing stuff like AI, right?
Okay.
That's where a very important concept called the OODA loop, OODA, comes in. We have an episode on that.
Yes.
Which basically says, yes, you might have a big picture plan whose details are not worked out, but you have to constantly be doing experimentations, look at the results of the experiments, then reorient yourself, and then repeat the whole process very quickly in a loop, right? So don't try to do a 5-year plan. Try to do experimentation, what you talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So if you're worried about AI taking your job, don't think of it as taking your job. Think of it as taking a part of your job, which is basically a task that can be automated or can be, put in a sort of a routine slash loop slash whatever. So who do you think is not in a good position to leverage AI? Are there any groups of people who are not?
Basically, it boils down to the ones who say, oh, I can't learn new things, or who say this is not my job, right? So the closed mindset people are the ones who will be in trouble. Keep an open mindset. Be ready to try different things. Be ready to experiment.
Actually, I'd be very interested to know from the people watching this episode whether AI has entered their domains, and if it has entered their domains, what are they doing about it, or how it is affecting their day-to-day
Yeah, would love to hear examples.
Yeah.
My worry is that AI has entered their domain, but they haven't heard about it yet, right? So that's why keeping track of these things is important.
So maybe if you think AI hasn't entered your domain, try and tell us where it could enter your domain, and if it has already entered your domain, tell us where it has and what you're doing about it and how you plan to maybe leverage it. It would be an interesting conversation to have and another interesting video to do on the basis of what answers and what responses come.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is the answer to the question, will AI take our jobs? The answer is no, but tasks.
Yes.
My name is Shrikant. This is Navin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.